Hi, it's Rachel here. I'm at the 2019 convention in Porirua in New Zealand, and we have rotten weather again. It's always windy, rainy. I wish we wouldn't have the convention here at this time of the year, but I'm kind of stuck with it. Anyway, I arrived at the convention location at about 7:30. Fortunately, it was not raining at that point, but it was a bit windy. But I did manage to get my sign on the roof, and with the wind blowing on it and blowing on the balloons, it's sort of rattling around a little bit. You might be able to hear it. But my sign on the side of the car is nice and secure. I have it weighted down at the bottom corners with sandbags so it doesn't flap around. Not that it looked like it was going to flap around much anyway, but it's nice and sturdy. And I've adorned my car with signs. I'm actually parked in between the stadium and a cafe and a gymnasium, which all have windows. And although I'm about at least 100 meters away from the stadium, so my sign, you can see it because of the colours on it. You can see it from the windows in the foyer at the stadium complex, but for people with eyesight like mine, I don't think I'd be able to read it from the stadium. But if people are inside by the windows, where they tend to hang about in the breaks and at lunchtime, if they use their phone, they can zoom in on my sign. That's if it's wet and yucky like this again, still at lunchtime, and people aren't going to come outside, are they? Anyway, so what I did at 7:30 I got the signs on the car. Then I walked around to outside the library here, which is, there's a little short road or driveway, if you like, that goes from the road to the stadium and the swimming pool, which is all part of the same facility. And there's a cafe there too. So I put my pram with my signs on it there on the corner where witnesses were driving in to drop off their passengers at the stadium, and then they'd have to go past me again to find a car park. And then of course lots of people parking down the road who had to walk past me anyway. So I got quite a lot of people walking past me, and surprisingly about half of them said good morning or smiled, even without me saying good morning first. So I thought that was interesting. And a few people I knew went past. The ones from my congregation just totally shunned me, didn't say anything, didn't acknowledge my presence at all. There was a couple there who used to be in our congregation who probably didn't know I was disfellowshipped, and they said hi, and then they probably saw the pram. Anyway, so it was good. Then at one point a man walked past me towards the stadium, and then he came back the other way from the stadium a bit later on, and he says, "Oh, are you manning that?" And he pointed to the pram, and I nodded and said yes. And he says, "Oh, good job," and then walked off and crossed the road. And I thought, oh well, maybe he's just someone who's dropped somebody off for the convention. He's not actually a witness, and he's against the shunning. But I was wrong. He actually came back again and stopped and talked to me for about 15 minutes or so. And he's a brother, and he was almost disfellowshipped at one point, but he drew close to Jehovah and strengthened his spirituality and stayed in the congregation. But I have to give him credit for having a civil conversation with me and listening to me and letting me say my piece, and I let him say his piece. And I was a bit confused, because when he looked at my sign and said good job, and it said don't shun your babies, and why does the governing body make you choose between your beliefs and your family? So I thought he'd be in agreement with that. But then when I was talking to him, he was trying to say that shunning is being obedient to Jehovah. And I said, no, it's not. It's being obedient to the governing body who interpret those verses. that talk about limiting your association with wrongdoers, and I pointed out that the word for stop associating with, or quit mixing in company with, is used in a couple of places that the witnesses refer to. One is regarding marking and the other is regarding disfellowshipping. But with the where it's used for marking, you do still associate with that person. You just keep an eye on your associations. Yet they make it, cutting off completely in the other context. It doesn't make sense it's inconsistent to apply it different ways. So I tried to explain that to him, and he was being very pleasant. He was kind of agreeing to disagree, sort of, and he just keeps saying that, it's between us and Jehovah judges, and I tried to explain to him that it's like he was saying that I don't know if he was excusing himself for being part of an organisation that practices shunning or other abuses. I explained to him that I couldn't represent an organisation that abused people. The witnesses could, what's to stop a Catholic saying that, they choose to remain a Catholic, thus representing that church. But, they would criticise a Catholic who stayed with the church even though they disagreed with its teachings. They would criticise them, but that is what so many witnesses do. They stay with the truth, even though they don't agree with some of it, or possibly don't even understand a lot of the teachings. Let's face it, a lot of them are rather clueless. So anyway, that was really good that he stopped. Then at about 9:30, a sister came walking up to me, and she almost threw herself on the seat next to me, and she looked in pain, and she couldn't really talk, and she didn't look too good, and she told me that she was having an angina attack, and she had all the pain in her jaw and up her face and down her arms and her chest, and felt terrible. And I said, do you want me to go and get some help for you? And she says, I'll take my pills. And she took them, and then she looked like she was in agony, and I said, look, I'm going to go and get you some help. And she said, can you get me a wheelchair? So I ran to the stadium. Yes, the apostate, the overweight apostate, running and boom, boom, boom. Anyway, I ran to the stadium, and I think I ran straight past the venue security person. He's not very good, is he? And I went to the attendant who was at the pool, because the program had started by this point, and there were actually no witness attendants around to be seen. I looked, couldn't see any. So I told the staff at the pool that there was a lady, I think she's having a heart attack out there by the library, and we need to get her a wheelchair, and blah 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 blah. And then she got someone else, and I had to tell him, and then we all ran down there to her, and I put my coat on her and my scarf around her because it was freezing. Offered her my hat, but she had really good hair. I could see there was a lot of spray in it, and I didn't want to wreck it, so she declined my hat anyway. So she was feeling a lot better, that her medication was kicking in, but it didn't take much to bring on this attack, which was a bit of a worry. So they got the wheelchair and wheeled her back up into the stadium, I guess, where they were going to get the witness first aid people to keep an eye on her and possibly ring an ambulance, I'm not sure. But she said to me, she sort of held my hand and said, oh, thank you so much, and you're very kind, and are you a Jehovah's Witness? Or are you studying? I think I must have said no. She said, oh, are you studying? And I said, no, I used to be a Jehovah's Witness. And she'll probably realise later on, when she was probably in such a bad way, she didn't notice my signs on the pram. So no doubt later on during the day, she'll find out that it was the apostate that helped her. The Good Samaritan. Not that I did anything much, but yeah, she seemed like a nice lady. So anyway, I'm glad I could help her out with that, and I didn't get too puffed from my running. But running to the stadium gave me an opportunity to see what my car sign looked like from the stadium, and I was a bit disappointed to see how small it looked. So later on I'm going to move, like, I think what I'll do for the end of the program is take my sign around to the entrance to the stadium, the driveway area where I was this morning, and I've got a stand that I can put it on, but if it's very windy I don't know how. I've got sandbags to hold the stand, but yeah, I'll just see what the weather's like. There's always tomorrow. I think the forecast is a bit better for tomorrow. Yeah, so after that little adventure I treated myself to a nice chai latte and a piece of fruit and nut slice cake from the nice cafe that's at the sort of art gallery library area here just next to the stadium. So yeah, it's been a good morning so far. I'm disappointed about the weather, but you just got to do what you can do, eh? Anyway, I'll make another video later on. Bye bye.